Alright, so today we're going to make these country style pork ribs into BBQ ribs, my own kind. These are pork loin country ribs. I bought them at BJ's at $2.19 a pound, $11.45 for this package. All they are is a piece of the pork, whole pork loin, the end which they can't get the center cut pork chops off, and then they just slice them in half. So don't ever pay more for these than you would a whole pork loin, because you can buy a rib end of pork loin and just cut them yourself, but that's another day. Okay, so I got the boneless pork. I forgot to say that before. It's boneless pork loin, country style ribs. I have a sharp knife, a bony knife, not a you don't want a paring knife. Most people like a paring knife because it's less dangerous, but you want to make sure you have a nice sharp knife. I have a steel, and I've taken it and I've straightened out the little fibers on the end of the knife so it's nice and as sharp as it can be without restoning it. And I have a 13 by 9 2-inch Pyrex casserole dish, so I'm going to bake these in. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut these in half. I'm going to cut them in half right at that little divide, the perfect divide. I could take a rib end of a pork loin and just cut it in half and cut it into pieces, also to end up with the same thing. Okay, so I've cut the meat. I've used my nice sharp knife. I added a cutting board because I had to cut these in half again. You want to try to get them as sort of like the size of a rib, something that people are going to be able to eat. Depends on how you're going to eat them. Finger food, you might want to cut them down some more, but it doesn't matter. They could actually be bite-sized pieces if you want them to. Make it like an hors d'oeuvre. And now I'm going to put them into the dish, and I'm going to put them in as tightly as I can, and we'll be back. Okay, so I've taken the meat, the pieces of meat, and I've packed them into the glass Pyrex dish. You can see that they're very tight, touching each other. They're going to cook down. There's going to be quite a bit of liquid, and as they cook down, I will separate them a little bit, and I'll show you that later. But right now I'm going to put some seasoning on it, and I will get them ready to go into the oven. Alright, so now I've spiced up the tops of the spare ribs, and I have it heavily with rosemary. I like rosemary on pork, but there's also Italian seasoning. There's probably some black pepper. I try to avoid adding salt, but you could add salt, like Lowry's garlic salt, seasoned salt. Basically, you can add lib here any way you want, whatever spices you like with pork, put them on there. We're not too concerned about the spice on the item because it's not going to pretty much stay there. This is going to get pretty wet, and we're going to put some barbecue sauce on later, so you don't have to worry too much. You want quite a bit of spice on the top of these. Okay, so you can see where we've preheated the oven to 400 degrees. We're now going to put this glass dish into the oven. Just going to position it right in the middle of the oven, and I close it, and I'm going to set the timer for 1 hour. Alright, our pork has been cooking for about 45 minutes. There's a lot of liquid in there. Liquid is tenderizing the meat. We want to keep that there, but we want to separate these and turn them over so we get the top into the moisture also. So I'm just turning over. I'm separating the pork and turning it over. I want the spices down in that liquid too, because we're going to use the liquid in our sauce. So if the spices get in there, it'll flavor the liquid too. Alright, so I've got them all turned over, and I'm going to put them back into the oven and let them finish cooking. I'm going to add about 15 minutes to it too. So bring it up to an hour and 15 minutes. Alright, the pork is almost done. We've still got a few more minutes going, so I want to get the sauce ready. And I'm going to use the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce because it's nice and thick. And I'm going to thin it down a little bit with whiskey. If you have a problem with it, you could use bourbon or you could just eliminate it, but we need to, this is so thick, we need to thin it out some with something. We're also going to take some of the liquid from the pork and we're going to use that to thin it down. So we want a thick sauce to begin with. Alright, so we have, I've put the sauce from the container into here and I want to get out this other stuff, so I need to take this cover off. And it doesn't look like it comes off of there, but it does. If you take a knife, try to put it right underneath the thing. You gotta be careful of your fingers. I'm always thinking where my fingers are. Trying to get that under there. That just kind of pops out. You don't necessarily want it to fall in there, but that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the Crown Royal into this bottle to wash it out. Crown Royal, it's a Canadian whiskey. It's one I like. You could use any whiskey. I'm going to pour some of that into here. A couple of shots. I'll put the cover back on. I'm going to just shake it up. What I'm trying to do is clean out the bottle. Get as much of the sauce as I can. And I'm just pouring it into my bowl. I might do that just one more time. Alright, so the pork is almost done. I've taken it out and I'm going to turn these over again. The tops of them are drying a little bit, a little more than I want them to, so I'm going to turn them back over, let them sit in that juice, and then we're going to strain off some of the juice. Alright, so now I've turned over the pork and I want to get this juice into this bowl right here. And I'm going to do that using my pot holders because this is pretty hot. And I'm just going to pour off as much as I can without losing the pork out of the container. Doesn't matter if I get it all. It also has juice all over the bottom of it right now, so I want to make sure I get that off before I put it back into the oven. These are going to go right back into the oven. Okay, I've added the Crown Royal to the sauce and I've whipped it up, my little whip. Now I want to put in some of the liquid from the pork, and there's fat on top, which when it sits in the bowl rises to the top. So in order to get the juice that without the fat, although it doesn't look like there's a lot of fat here anyway, I'm going to use a turkey baster. This is a regular turkey baster, but it has a stainless steel shaft for hot liquids. Sometimes the stainless steel is better. And I'm going to close the ball and I'm going to put it down in there, and when I let go it will suck up some of the juice from the bottom, which will be fat free. All the fat is coming to the top. This is also a good way to separate the fat when you're making turkey gravy. Alright, so now I've got the juice from the pork in the sauce and I'm going to just whip it up. So now I have the pork out of the oven and I'm going to put the pork pieces, each piece, into my sauce. I'm just going to do that with all of these pork pieces. Okay, I've got the I started putting the pork back into the pan. I've put them in. I'm getting it entirely coated with the sauce, and then I'm going to put this back into the oven. You can see the difference in size, so I can do that. Okay, so now I have the pork back in there. Now I'm going to take some of the sauce, and I kind of want it sort of swimming in the sauce. So I'm just going to kind of put that back over the top. I want a lot of liquid on there because that's how they stay nice and moist and tenderize. The moisture tenderizes the meat by breaking down all the little tendons and collagen. So now that's going to go back into the oven for about 30 more minutes. Alright, so we're just about finished with our recooking of the pork. Take that out. And if you see, we have a lot of color on the top and a very thick sauce, and this is done, ready to eat for supper. And if you take a look, you can see that these are looking an awful lot like barbecue spare ribs. So that's my barbecue spare ribs. Enjoy.